Hi, welcome to NAB 2026. I'm James. I'm here with James Cartner of Unit 7.
Yes,
James, how are you doing today?
doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's always great to talk to a fellow James.
I know. It's the best name, really, honestly.
It honestly really is.
Yeah.
Did you know that James is, its root word is Jacob?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, I think it's there's one other name, but I think it's one of the top 3 names in the world.
Yeah.
So very common. Well, it's 2026.
Believe
Here we
it.
are. Doing great. Is there anything?
Tell us a bit about who you are and about Unit 7.
Yeah. So I'm Unit 7 Designs. We've been doing broadcasts I have a big background in broadcast, been doing that for a while. And before that, I was doing theater and then theme parks before broadcast. And what I'm trying to do now is with Unit 7 Designs, incorporate everything I've known and more than a decade plus in broadcast and how many people I've met and the lives I've touched, and just bringing this together and making the best of a broadcast environment and see what that can mean with themed environments as well. And with working with people like yourselves with lighting, how can I take that broadcast environment and incorporate more thematic opportunities and bring that to clients the best way possible, and seeing how that works out. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to figure out, the lane that everybody comes in, because it's a lot of different worlds and a lot of people end up partitioning themselves. And I really didn't understand that when I was coming through college and then through my early 20s, starting in theater and then moving into, big theme parks, that they stay in that lane. You don't meet a lot of people, integrators, lighting companies, stuff that really do. There are a few that make it, but not a lot of people that are offering the same kinds of thematic and like scenic lighting, video opportunities all in one nutshell to every single one of those environments. And I know that's a challenge, and I don't know how to really bring everything together. And I'm really hoping to meet a lot of people here and try to bring all those services together. I know I screwed that up, but yeah,
I mean, that sounds like a very,
it's ambitious.
sure, but, so just to rephrase what I'm hearing, you have a background in traditional broadcast, right? Television broadcast, as well as theme parks, as well as theatrics. And you're trying to find a cohesive way to address all 3 markets, but in a way that kind of connects them in their core, right? Which is lighting and set design, and cameras on some of those applications. Yeah,
Absolutely. And props management too. I mean, we do hand props and everything. So like, where can that turnkey operation work in a way that's not just turnkey in one environment, but turnkey in every environment? Because there are a lot of skills that overlap that I don't think people really appreciate. You can be a phenomenal broadcast lighting designer and you can be a phenomenal theatrical lighting designer. Can you do both? They are very different, but you have a lot of the connections, you have a lot of the skills. And I think when you've gone from one atmosphere to another and you've seen how you can change those skills and build on those skills, what that looks like and why people aren't communicating and why they're partitioned. And I would love to see that encapsulated some way to make it,
yeah. I mean, of those 3 market verticals, where do you see growth? Or maybe there's a 4th or 5th vertical that we haven't talked about, perhaps in corporations or houses of worship, or education. I mean, there's a lots of different verticals as it pertains to all things related to creative lighting, creative scenic. Where do you see opportunities? What's drawing your attention the most?
I'm seeing a lot of opportunities in like small podcast situations, office places. I mean, you nailed it, really, honestly. Everything you just said is exactly where things, I don't like to say the word pivot, right? I don't think things are pivoting, but they are growing in other areas that require more attention than maybe past decade, right? So whereas you can stay in one very tight lane and have a few clients and be successful and grow, you're not growing the way you could be if you're looking at other places because you haven't had to, because you've stayed really successful doing that one thing. Where now I see a lot of other people are pulling those resources from that one lane to other lanes, like you just mentioned. Every one of those are perfect examples. Houses of worship, obviously top tier, like level of where I'm seeing a lot of attention. Auditorium spaces are great for lighting. Absolutely very interesting to see what we can do. And that also brings me to PoE, why auditorium spaces are really exciting. House of worship places that don't have a traditional already existing studio where they already have power and everything in it. It's an opportunity to bring. I've looked at how much power they can save and the control that and the function they can get from going if they don't already have existing structure to start with. I would push them to like, hey, look at PoE. Is this how you want to do that? Because it really will be simpler for you. It's going to be a lot more cable management and the power. I mean, what they're doing. One of the things you brought up was like office spaces and things. That is first and foremost the biggest example of where I see lighting changing and where someone like myself can implement a lot of the skills and the connections I have to incorporate that, because I think it really benefits them more first and foremost than other companies, because it's so blatantly obvious that PoE is right up their lane. Like that's exactly right. But you're seeing it more in bigger and growing spaces too. Like whole buildings are being lit and powered with PoE. And I see that and I'm like, how can I incorporate that? And working with you guys over the last few years, I've started realizing, how that can be implemented in other places as well, and what that looks like and how that feels. A lot of it is educating people as well. Like maybe they don't understand, they want to stay traditional DMX with traditional power outlets and stuff. They don't have the engineering staff to know how to understand the ArtNet and SACN and things like that. And you can help them with that. I find that could be a hurdle that traditional broadcast, for example, doesn't really want to mess with too much. But I think that's going to start to change as the advent of all of this technology becomes more and more prevalent, and you start witnessing like the results of it. It's going to be harder to not at least try harder to understand it more and let that grow and build in other environments.
Yeah, no, really well said, James. Convergence is a word that we're hearing more and more. The convergence of AV and broadcast, and really, it's really the convergence of broadcast into AV, right? Because the AV industry is significantly bigger than the traditional broadcast industry.
Sure.
And ever since COVID, I mean, this has been said many times, everybody's getting more comfortable getting in front of a camera, initially a webcam, now a better PTZ camera, a broadcast grade camera. And corporations are trying to figure out ways to level up their in-house either production to create content like this podcast environment, right? To be able to speak directly to their audience, or they're wanting to level up their presentations, right? Their conference room meetings, the video conference meetings. And so there's a tremendous amount of opportunities to bring. The convergence allows us to bring broadcast quality lighting, cameras, teleprompters, pedestals, some of the things that you would see in a traditional broadcast environment, but design them specifically to meet the needs of corporate AV customers, especially as corporate AV is built on IP workflow backbone. Or you go into a corporation, you see the servers, rooms, they're all network based. They're all running RJ45 Cat 6 cables, or maybe Cat 6, 7, 8, whatever the flavor of Cat you want to utilize. So it's really important for us to build broadcast grade PoEs, right? It's one example. Really important for us to build broadcast grade products, but utilizing existing IT infrastructure versus the parallel of broadcast infrastructure, which has been historically, linear baseband, right? SDI cables plus XLR, which are DMX cables and XLR power cables. And those things are very comfortable for us in the broadcast industry. But if you're trying to level up corporations to be able to build those infrastructures into an existing office space, along with like a grid, along with getting power, you mentioned this power in the ceiling, AC power, it can be a hurdle, a huge hurdle, right?
And it can involve more parties.
Yeah.
Like obviously you're gonna have to bring in, COs and engineers and think that for a simple installation in an office space, that's what it provides. I think that's the biggest compliment to the space, that PoE provides and stuff, and that environment, and why that's where you start to see this more than anywhere, and why probably they're the first to really like take notice and implement that, innovative design. And you see PoE and things like this a lot of places, but not in the aggregate, in the big play. Like not a lot of people are doing it. You see it here in all kinds of places, but I think you're going to start seeing it more and more everywhere. And you brought up a good point about, COVID and stuff. That's a big thing that's changed. And I don't have to no one's going to learn anything on this for me saying this, but it has made people approach being on camera differently, podcast differently. Everyone can put on a production. The the hurdle I've found in my position as a lighting designer, that's a broadcast lighting designer, is trying to relate to certain clients that there are levels that you can be better than just getting on a Zoom. Like, not everything has to look like a Zoom. You could be a professional lit, professional run podcast place now and take all that comfort and the education you've learned from being on camera over COVID and understand that you can do broadcasts from remote places, right? And I think that's really where we're trying to find a lot of broadcast things are being like remote places, not just in one facility where a lot of people are coming to. You do have podcasts that are all one place that rents to a lot of places. And that's a great avenue that I look for in clients. But you're seeing more and more people that have center spaces that are just simple. And how do you make something simple be a big production in an environment? And I mean, I think that's why I hope to coordinate with those people and show them how simple it could look to be broadcast professional and everything in a small space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, well said, James. Simpler could mean a focused amount of equipment that specifically addresses what the client needs. Simpler, when you're talking about building an IP-based workflow infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
means that you can leverage more software to employ automation, right? So and then I mean, AI is a real thing. And in the present and very near future, you'll see better versions of automation with AI for real-time environmental adjustments. And so I think with all those things kind of employed and leveraged, simpler means allowing more people to be able to operate the equipment and use the equipment and benefit from the equipment.
Yes.
Simpler means a learning curve that used to be very, very steep to one that can be very, very shallow. That's really what simpler is, right? To get somebody
No, that's well put.
up to speed, right?
Yeah.
And simpler doesn't always mean that it's the technology simpler, because some of the simplest technologies to use are some of the most innovative and complicated to implement. And but that's not the burden of the end user, right? The burden of the user should be simplicity. The burden of the integrator, the manufacturer, the application designer is one where, we want to make things simple, but that means a translation of complexity the burden of complexity goes towards the professional setup and the people that are professionally equipped to do the setup. The burden of simplicity is now lifted from those who are using the equipment.
No, absolutely. I mean, that goes back to what I was saying as well. And you mentioned earlier that you're seeing people be able to do more with less. Like there things that took a degree to understand to do and years of experience, people are being able to produce. And where do you fit in that environment and how to teach them how to use that new technology in a way that's presenting them in the best light, and professionally.
Yeah. James, you come from you've spent many years in the broadcast industry. You've designed and lit a lot of television stations. A lot of the television groups are making headlines because of plans to merge, right? And ease of the FCC regulations on ownership. What's your take on the broadcast landscape as these mergers are happening? So what's your take on it immediately after, during, and after the merger? And what's your take on the industry in 3 to 5 years?
Well, you got 6 hours? We can talk about
The abridged version, maybe.
Yeah. No, I don't think that, again, that people are going to see anything surprising from what I have to say about it. I think it presents challenges for people like myself and integrators and designers to figure out the next steps, where people are going to land. I mean, if you have clients that are being merged with somebody else who is now your client, right? The client is bought out, they're no longer your client anymore. This other person is your client. Do you stay with them? Do you lose that business? Do you try to merge and integrate in their system? So I think that presents a big challenge for a lot of people on the floor level where we're at, like trying to present our product and our services to the end user, which would be the broadcast station, right? Or the studio space. If they're merging, what does that represent? It also changes the language that, the stations are using, how they're using their space. Are they happy with the things that they bought? Do you go in? There could be opportunities If they merge, that could be an opportunity to redesign in some way the stations that were there. So it really is up to you to figure out where you best fit and prove to somebody your value to the end client. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If the client is the only thing that matters. The mergers and everything in the news, it is challenging, and it can be very scary to navigate that world and the atmosphere that you're finding yourself in, where maybe you were in a comfort zone and now you don't know where 30% of your business is going to come from, or where your clients are, and it's not even for your client anymore to say, because they're not them anymore. And that you can't take that away. That exists. But it really comes down to how strong are you at what you do? How willing are you to prove that? And if you are good and you want to be able to adapt and grow, there's opportunity there as well. You just have to go after it and stay relevant. And I think that's challenging, staying relevant to other people and being heard, and making sure that you can adapt. That's the biggest abridged version of my thoughts on that. Obviously, I mean, it's a mountain of, language in there that you can keep going, because there is a lot to it and it's complicated.
Yeah. Speaking of adapting, what does that mean for Unit 7 design over the next 12 months and beyond?
Well, over the next year, what we want to do is sort of, like I was saying earlier, bring in as many clients as we can. Obviously, I want all the clients. That's my 12-year plan. Everybody works for me.
12-month plan.
12-month plan.
Yeah. Oh, it could be a 12-year plan.
I mean, it probably will take more than 12 years to have everyone be my client.
Yeah.
But no, my plan right now, my strategy is to do exactly what we're doing, working with people like yourself, of course, bringing in new people. Integrators, of course, are always top of mind. Who are they working with? Who are their clients? Try to learn the mergers and who the people that they're working with now, and what their needs are as they continue to do their business. Where do I fit there? Do I have a voice at the table? Can I meet those people? So that's a goal, is to try to really leave an imprint somewhere in there, while doing at the same time a lot in the background to meet other people outside of traditional broadcasts. A lot of podcast spaces where you can also be as relevant, if not more, and then themed entertainment and things like that as well. Like, we do props and everything. Where do we land, and how can I provide a service to all those different environments? We can do all of that. And so how do I get that message out? How do I showcase that? And that's really my 12-month goal, is to, in the next year, have a broader clientele so that we can showcase what we've done. And we're working on that. We've actually done a pretty broad scope of work, both in themed arenas and as well as broadcast and some small podcast areas as well. So, I mean, we'll have a lot to showcase in the next year. So I'm really proud of what we were accomplishing and what we have set for this 2026 year, and looking forward to being able to share with you 2027 what we've done.
That's exciting. Look, I'm looking forward to all of that. Wishing you great success at NAB and over the next many years. I've known you for many years. You wear your passion on your sleeve. You go above and beyond for your clients, for your customers. You and I as vendor partners, we've certainly worked together deeply on a lot of great projects, and have delivered a lot of value to a lot of customers. Really enjoy having you on this show, James.
Thank you very much. And same to you. I have to say, the passion goes both ways. You guys, one of the things, and since I've worked with Ikan for almost a decade, if not longer, I don't want to put a year on it, but you guys have matched the passion and made it really easy to be able to be as passionate to the end clients. And that's why I love partnering with you guys and working with you, and we'll continue to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.